So we have y squared plus 9y minus 10 in the numerator. We have 2y plus 20 in the denominator. So this is going to be similar to what we did up here, just slightly different. We'll start by factoring out the numerator. And so we can do that by putting a times c, so it's 1 times negative 10 is negative 10, and then 9 in the denominator. Our factors are going to be 10 and 9 and 1, and our 1 is going to be negative. So these two factors multiply to negative 10, they add to 9, and so I'm going to rewrite my expression up here as y plus 10 times y minus 1. All right, so now in the denominator, right, we want to look and see, can we factor anything out from the 2 and the 20? And so yes, we have a greatest common factor of 2, so we'll pull that out. We want to look at the y's. There's a y here and no y here, so no common variable, so we can't pull anything else out. So what times 2 is equal to 2y? That's going to be y. What times 2 is equal to 20? That's going to be 10. So now we've rewritten our rational expression. We have a factor of y plus 10 in the numerator and a y minus 1 in the numerator. In the denominator, we have a factor of 2 and a factor of y plus 10. Do we have common factors? Yes, we do. Y plus 10 and y plus 10, they can cancel out, and we're left with y minus 1 over 2. Simplified, are there any excluded values? No, there is no value for y that will make that denominator equal to 0. So our answer is y minus 1 over 2, and our excluded values are an empty set. There are no excluded values. Right. So let's look at this one down here. We're going to do the same thing. We'll factor the bottom using our cross method, and then we'll factor what we can from the numerator. Right. So let's start by putting our cross down, and we get 1 times negative 12 is negative 12, and the denominator, it's b is negative 1. So two factors of 12 that multiply to negative 12 add to negative 1 is going to be 4 and 3. And since our sum is negative, our 4 is going to be negative. Right? Okay, so we look at the numerator and say, can we factor anything out of 12 and 36? Yes, the greatest common factor is 12. Now, can we factor out any common variables? Well, no, they do not have any common variables, right? So it's just going to be 12, and that's going to leave us with an x and a 3. You can double check that by distributing out, right? So 12x plus 36. And now we'll rewrite the denominator as two factors. So it's going to be x minus 4 and x plus 3. All right, so now we look and say, are there any common factors? Well, yeah, we have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3, so those two can cancel out, and we're left with 12 over x minus 4. Simplified version, and now we're looking for our excluded values. We set the denominator, x minus 4 equal to 0. Solve for x by adding 4 to both sides, and we get x is equal to 4. So our excluded value is 4. X is equal to 4. So simplified version is 12 over x minus 4, and our excluded value is 4. All right, let's go ahead and look at here. We have a quadratic expression in the numerator and the denominator, so we're going to have to factor the numerator and factor the denominator and see what happens, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We'll factor the numerator here. So we have a times c is negative 35. B is negative 2. So two numbers that multiply to negative 35 and add to 2. So we'll start with 1. So it's 1 times 35. That's not going to add to negative 2. We have 2 times, no, 2 cannot go into 35. 3 cannot go into 35. So we have 5. 5 does go into 35. So we're going to have 5 times 7 is equal to 35. And so, yep, they add to negative 2. So let's do 7 and 5. The 7 needs to be negative so that they multiply to negative 35 and they add to negative 2. Okay, so that's my numerator. I'm going to write that here. I have x minus 7 and x plus 5. And in the denominator, I also need to factor. So I'll do that here. We got 1 times 14 is 14, and then negative 9s are b. So two factors that multiply to 14 and add to 9, it's going to be 7 times 2. And they're both going to be negative. Right? So if they're both negative, they multiply to positive 14, and then they add to negative 9. So I can go ahead and write the denominator as two factors. It's going to be x minus 7 and x minus 2. So now I look at it and say, do we have any common factors? Yeah, we'll have a x minus 7 in the numerator and the denominator. So that leaves me with x plus 5 over x minus 2 as my simplified version. And now I want to do my excluded values. So let me go ahead and put the simplified version up here. X plus 5 over x minus 2. So the excluded value, take the denominator, set it equal to 0, solve for the variable, and I get x equals 2. So that's my excluded value. So excluded value is going to be 2. All right, let's stop right there.